Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And the Xbox Series just got even better. Now, one thing that has really made the Xbox Series such a special console, especially early in the generation, is its just excellent backwards compatibility. This really cannot be touted enough, but the backwards compatibility for the Xbox Series has been absolutely amazing, and that goes beyond just Xbox games. Ironically, it also does a good job with games for other consoles, and we're gonna talk all about that here in just a bit. Now, also, it appears that a big PlayStation multiplayer game might have leaked out online, and this potentially could end up being really big. So we're going to go over all of that as well, plus, per usual, we have plenty more to talk about as I do try to cover the entire game industry. And to start today off, we have a new controller to talk about for the Nintendo Switch. Now, usually I don't really buy into these third-party controllers, but this one really popped out to me as a new Hades-themed controller is set to release on September 17th. Now, this appears to be an early listing over Amazon, and they have since taken the listing down, so we don't have a pricing or anything like that, but it does appear to be releasing on September 17th. And yeah, just check this thing out. If you like Hades, which is a phenomenal game, then this looks like a very good controller. I really like the way this one looks, and PowerA is one of the better third-party brands of controllers. This particular controller here is very similar to the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, though it does have a tendency of being a little cheaper. I'm hoping that's going to be the case here with this Hades one because, I mean, really, even if you just want to add this one to your collection and just display it, it does look like it's going to be a nice display item. Yeah, I might have to pick this one up myself, but if you are on the market for a new controller, or if you just really like Hades and you want a good display item, then keep an eye out for this new PowerA controller that looks like it will release on September 17th. Now, this next topic has created a lot of buzz this morning, and there definitely seems to be some confusion surrounding this topic, because the Outriders developer People Can Fly has claimed it has not received any royalties from Square Enix during the game's first quarter sales. And that is really strange considering the amount of success this game has had. We'll get back to that here in just a moment. But yeah, let's just go and take a look at what People Can Fly had to say. We did not have any sales figures for Outriders. We estimate sales to be between 2 and 3 million copies, and we assume that this result would make the project profitable already in the first quarter of sales. The lack of payment from the publisher probably means that, in Square Enix's opinion, this is not the case after all. And it's right there where there's a lot of confusion surrounding this statement, because here you can actually see the CEO for People Can Fly, and even he says they assume that they already reached a profitable margin. But for whatever reason, Square Enix has yet to pay royalties to People Can Fly. Now, maybe they do plan to give them royalties later on and they just haven't done that yet, but all of this has led to a lot of speculation that maybe Outriders was not a big success after all. But if you start to look at things, Square Enix's public statements about this game actually paints a completely different picture. It was only a couple months ago when Square Enix deemed this game a success and even teased that they were going to make this into a big franchise going forward. So it really seemed like Square Enix at the time was very happy about Outriders. Now, maybe Outriders didn't have the long-term success that Square Enix was kind of hoping for. It did have quite a bit of technical issues there at launch, which could have affected its overall longevity, but its initial launch was very successful, as Square Enix noted before. It was actually Square Enix's best launch for a Square Enix game over on Steam. It did really well on Xbox and Xbox Game Pass, and overall it was a very successful launch, to the point that Square Enix alluded to this being the next big franchise for Square Enix. So there definitely seems to be some mixed messages here. I do wonder if Square Enix maybe just hasn't paid the royalties yet, and they will do that later. But as of this moment, just coming from a fan's perspective, I would kind of wait it out and see what Square Enix actually says about this publicly, because I don't think that this story is quite over just yet. I think we might hear more about this one in the future, so we'll kind of go ahead and keep an eye on this one. For the time being, I'm just kind of hoping that this is a misunderstanding between Square Enix and People Can Fly, and that for whatever reason, the payment has just been delayed. Everything that Square Enix has said before, they did have a very successful launch on platforms like Steam. They made some money off of the Xbox Game Pass deal, and they said that that was a success, and I guess we'll just kind of have to see what happens next with all this. Hopefully we do hear about the success of Outriders sometime in the future, maybe at a Square Enix fiscal report or something like that. Now, speaking of Xbox Game Pass, we got quite a few games to go over here as they announced more games for the month of August. This is something that they do every single month where they announce these games in waves, and the second half of August is looking absolutely excellent. I'm genuinely very excited for a couple of these games here, but yeah, let's just go and check it out. So on the cloud side of things, you have Need for Speed Heat, Battlefront 2, and then Jedi Fallen Order. This is something that Xbox has really been trying to expand on as they bring more of these games over to xCloud, where you can play on things like your phone, your tablet, or PC, or wherever. They have been expanding on that, and that's 3 really good games right there. But then you also have Recompile, Train Sim World 2, 12 Minutes, Psychonauts 2, Myst, and then Humankind. And yeah, that's actually a really good lineup of games. Now, Recompile is this 3D world Metroidvania style of game that's releasing on August 19th. Again, this is a day one release, and truthfully, I probably would have never heard about this game if it wasn't for Xbox Game Pass, but as I always say, that's one of the reasons that I love this service so much, and me being a big Metroidvania style fan, yeah, I might have to check this one out. The 2 games here that I'm really excited about, though, would be 12 Minutes and then Psychonauts 2. Now, 12 Minutes is this interactive thriller about a man trapped in a time loop, and every time that I see this game, I just get more and more interested. It seems to have good voice acting, the story sounds really interesting, and I just like the overall mystery surrounding this game. This has been a game that I've been closely monitoring since they originally announced it, and it's finally almost here, as it will also release on August 19th. Yeah, August 19th is going to be a very busy day, as also Train Sim World 2 also releases on August 19th. Yeah, seriously, as amazing as Xbox Game Pass is, they are not easy on your backlog. There's just so many games that constantly releases into the service, it's hard to keep up. But the big one here is definitely going to be Psychonauts 2. Now, I've talked about this game pretty extensively on this channel, and yeah, I'm super excited for this game. I've been waiting for this game for well over a decade, and I firmly believe that the original Psychonauts, to this day, I mean, it has aged incredibly well, and I do think that it is one of the best 3D platformers ever made, hands down. It's a phenomenal experience, it's different, it's quirky, and it's insanely creative. And really, Psychonauts 2 looks like it took all of that and then just ran with it. Psychonauts 2 looks absolutely excellent. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that this is going to be a really good game when it does release later this month on August 25th. We were even hearing some impressions last month, and I mean, people are painting this as a possible Game of the Year candidate, and just everything that we've been hearing, everything that we've been seeing, and based off of that first game, I think Double Fine might be releasing an instant classic here. I'm really crossing my fingers that is the case, but the fact that this is releasing into Xbox Game Pass is so amazing, and I'm not saying that because it's going to save me any money or anything like that. I mean, I've already bought this game, as I did support this over on Fig as soon as it went up online a couple years ago, but the reason that I'm particularly really excited about Psychonauts 2 launching directly into Xbox Game Pass is that it just means that more people are going to get a chance to try this game out. As good as that first game was, unfortunately, it just never got the recognition that it truly deserved. It's a bit of a cult classic. But here with Psychonauts 2 launching into Xbox Game Pass, I think a lot more people are going to get to try this game out, and they're going to see just how good this franchise legitimately is. And if it's successful enough, maybe we won't have to wait so long the next time before we get a Psychonauts 3. Regardless, this is looking like an extremely good month for Xbox Game Pass, and you know, we talked about it yesterday, but you also have Humankind that is launching directly into PC, and it's very similar to the Sid Meier's Civilization series, and it's reviewing really well so far with an 80 overall score on Metacritic. It's just looking like a really good month for Xbox Game Pass, especially with this second half lineup. Now, that isn't quite everything on Xbox today, though, because we also need to talk about the versatility of the Xbox Series. Now, we did talk about this in the past, but you can actually emulate several of these old retro games by sideloading RetroArch onto the Xbox Series. Now, you can do this by putting Xbox Series into developer mode, where you can install apps like RetroArch, which, yeah, I mean, you can play several of these old retro games on your Xbox Series, and they look better than they ever did before. It's a really neat feature that showcases the versatility of the Xbox Series. Not only can you play these visually stunning modern-style games, but you also have great backwards compatibility that is capable of running Xbox One, Xbox 360, and even original Xbox games that also will look better than they ever did before. But then on top of that, you can also technically emulate several of these retro-style consoles that was never intended to actually run on Xbox. So this is a great console for emulation, especially with the Xbox Series S. The Xbox Series S only being set at $300 and is capable of running all of these retro-style platforms with good performance. That's actually really impressive and cool to see. And well, things just got better because a new emulator has now been confirmed to be working on the Xbox Series, and this is a very impressive one, being Duckstation. Now, Modern Vintage Gamer did post a big video about Duckstation running on the Xbox Series, and I will leave a link to that in the description below. Per usual, he does a fantastic job with his videos. But here with Duckstation, what makes this emulator in specific so special is that you can actually emulate PlayStation 1 games, original PlayStation 1 games, at 4K resolution at a buttery smooth, stable 60 frames per second. And yes, that does include both the Xbox Series X as well as the Series S. The Xbox Series S continues to impress at a $300 price point, and if you are in emulation, that is a great device to pick up. Now, with Duckstation, you can also do things like apply true color rendering and texture filtering, which again will just make these games look better than they ever did before. Though if you do prefer to stick with those original art styles, then you can simply just ignore options like this. But from everything that we're seeing here, I mean, Duckstation looks like an excellent emulator for PlayStation 1 games, and the fact that you can get these running on your Xbox Series without really any kind of drawback, yeah, this is yet another really good reason for owning an Xbox Series, especially considering you can swap back and forth out of developer mode at will. Let's go ahead and talk about PlayStation here for a moment, though, as data miners have now unearthed a range of leftover assets from The Last of Us Part 2, which could signify a Battle Royale multiplayer game mode. Now, we've known for a while that Naughty Dog is in fact working on a multiplayer game mode for The Last of Us Part 2. They did have factions in the first game, which was a kind of a unique competitive multiplayer game mode. It really mixed in that survival element with competitive gameplay, and a lot of fans really did seem to like the multiplayer there. It had pretty strong gun mechanics, and it was different and felt good all at the same time. And this has led to a lot of fans really wanting a follow-up for factions. So far, though, we haven't really seen what Naughty Dog plans for their upcoming multiplayer game mode, or at least until maybe now. A data miner by the name of Speclizer did post a video about this topic and how it looks like, based off the assets found through a data mine, they might actually be working on a Battle Royale style of game. Through the data mine, there was a pretty massive map found where the location's name suggests that the map might be from different single-player maps merged together to create one big map. This is something that we've seen in games like Warzone from Call of Duty as well, so it's a pretty easy conclusion to make here that that could possibly be a big Battle Royale style of map. And when I started to think about this, it actually has a lot of potential. Obviously, Battle Royale style games are incredibly popular. We've seen that with games like Fortnite, PUBG, Warzone, Apex Legends, and yeah, Battle Royale style games have the potential to just absolutely explode, but I think the gameplay style of factions and The Last of Us really fits with Battle Royale style of games. I mean, sure, this could be yet another Battle Royale game that's trying to cash in on the Battle Royale phenomenon, but I do think that The Last of Us could fit really well into a genre like this. I mean, because of that survival element, and we saw this with factions, I think that you could actually make a pretty good Battle Royale out of that style of game. I mean, basically, you would just have to take what makes factions so special, make the maps bigger, bring in more players, and there you have it. You have a Battle Royale factions style of game. Now, even though I don't really care for Battle Royale games myself, I do think that this one has a lot of potential, and if they really do make a game like this, it could be big. I mean, this could be the first big, first-party Battle Royale game, and that could push a lot of consoles if done right. Now, there's still that big if there, but I guess we'll kind of see what happens with all this. For the time being, though, because this isn't confirmed, just kind of take this with a grain of salt, and we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and take a look at the poll of the day, though, and this one is a topic that I often see fans get really heated about. I actually was questioning myself on whether I should ask this question or not, but I went ahead and did it, and I asked you all, do you think challenging games such as Dark Souls should have an easy mode included? And well, interestingly enough, the majority of you, being 58%, said no, you do not think games like Dark Souls should have an easy mode. And truthfully, I agree with you all here. I don't publicly talk about this stuff very often because I know people can get mad about this type of topic, but that's kind of the point when it comes to Dark Souls. It's meant to be a challenging game, and then once you overcome that challenge, you feel proud of yourself. That's kind of the point in what the developers meant it to be. Now, don't get me wrong, because I'm all for accessibility. If a developer wants to include an easy mode, then I'm all for that. We've seen that with Psychonauts 2 here recently, and yeah, if that's what they want to do, then that's great. I'm still just as excited for Psychonauts 2 as I was before. But it really is up to the developer. If they want to set out to challenge players to beat their game and then feel proud that you beat their game, then I'm all for that as well. It really is up to the developer, and they can make it as accessible or as difficult as they want. In certain games, they're meant to be easy, such as Yoshi's Crafted World, and then in other games like Sekiro and Dark Souls, or even Cuphead, those games are meant to challenge you. I guess it's just not my mentality to ask a developer to make things easier. If a developer set out to challenge me, I'm going to take on that challenge headstrong and try my best to complete it. Now, for people that might think that I'm being an elitist when it comes to this topic, I'm really not trying to be. I'm honestly not. I just understand that not everything is meant for everybody. I mean, there's plenty of games out there that's meant to be easy, or they have an easy option, and I'm not going to complain about any of those games. But it's also nice to see certain games out there made to be challenging, and it's for that demographic that wants to be challenged, all on a level playing field. So like I said, I just don't think that everything is necessarily meant for everybody. Now, if they do decide to include an easy mode in the future for Dark Souls, I'm not going to complain about that either. But for the time being, if you want to be included in a game like this, you're just going to have to challenge yourself, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. If you don't want that challenge, then it just might not be a game for you. And like I said before, not everything is meant for everybody. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.